Why is a country as massive as Australia, spanning nearly 3 million square miles, home to most of its people crammed along a thin coastal strip, leaving the rest virtually empty? Imagine a land so vast yet so hostile that 95% of it remains sparsely populated. Its heart dominated by scorching deserts and unforgiving conditions. Is it nature's design or something else entirely? Let's uncover the secrets behind Australia's emptiness and the powerful forces of geography and climate that have shaped its population like nowhere else on Earth. In this video, we'll talk about why so much of Australia is empty and hard to live in. We'll look at how its geography and weather make most of the land uninhabitable, and why nearly everyone lives along the coasts. Let's find out what makes Australia so unique. From the dry deserts to the tropical coasts, we'll explore the key reasons why people live where they do in Australia. We'll look at how the land and weather have shaped the way the country is populated and why so much of it is empty. Let's dive in and uncover the story behind this unique pattern. Australia's geography has been shaped over millions of years. It's one of the oldest continents on Earth, with land that has stayed mostly flat and stable for a long time. Unlike many other places, Australia doesn't have tall, young mountain ranges because it hasn't had much tectonic activity, like earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, to reshape it. Instead, the land has slowly eroded over time, creating vast deserts, dry plains, and ancient rock formations. About 50 million years ago, Australia separated from Antarctica and started drifting northward. This isolation helped develop its unique plants and animals, but it also affected the climate. Over time, the continent became drier, leading to the arid and semi-arid conditions that cover most of the land today. Because of this, much of Australia is difficult to farm or live in, which has shaped where people choose to settle. Australia is the sixth largest country in the world, covering about 7.7 million square kilometers. That's huge, almost as big as the United States. But what's surprising is how few people live there compared to its size. Australia's population is around 26 million, which is much smaller than countries like the US or India. This means its population density, the number of people living in a certain area, is one of the lowest in the world. While some areas, like the coast, are crowded with people, most of the country is almost empty because the land is too dry or harsh to live in. Australia sits between two major oceans, the Pacific Ocean to the east and the Indian Ocean to the west. This unique location gives it a mix of climates and landscapes. In the north, you'll find tropical rainforests with lots of rain and warm weather. In the center, there are vast deserts that are dry and hot, known as the Outback. Along the coast, especially in the south and east, the climate is more mild and pleasant, which is why most people live there. This mix of terrains, from lush rainforests to dry deserts, makes Australia's geography very special. The Outback is a huge area in the middle of Australia, covering about 70% of the land. It's mostly made up of arid deserts and dry plains, making it one of the harshest places on Earth. The temperatures can get extremely hot during the day and very cold at night. There's very little water, and the land is often too dry for farming. Because of these tough conditions, very few people live in the Outback, and most of it remains empty. It's a beautiful but challenging part of Australia's geography. Most Australians live along the coast, in cities like Sydney and Melbourne. These coastal areas have a much milder climate compared to the harsh Outback. The weather is more temperate, with moderate temperatures and more rainfall, which makes it easier to live in. The coast offers better conditions for farming, building, and daily life, which is why most of the population chooses to settle there. The cities are also close to beaches, making them popular and lively places to live. In Australia, there are large areas that are arid, extremely dry, or semi-arid, a little less dry. Some of these regions get less than 10 inches of rain every year, which makes it very difficult to grow crops or build settlements. Without enough water, farming becomes nearly impossible, and living in these areas is tough. The lack of rain means there are few plants and animals, and people are unlikely to live there because it's so harsh and dry. The northern parts of Australia have a tropical climate, which means it's very hot and humid. These areas also experience strong cyclones, which are powerful storms that can cause a lot of damage. Because of the extreme humidity and the risk of cyclones, it's hard for people to live there in large numbers. The weather makes it difficult to grow crops and build cities, so fewer people settle in these parts of the country. In much of Australia, the climate is very hot and there isn't enough water. The lack of rainfall and high temperatures make it hard to find water for drinking, farming and other needs. This water scarcity makes life difficult because people need water to survive and grow food. Without enough water, many parts of Australia are not suitable for large populations or farming, which is why so much of the land remains empty. Building roads, railways, and other basic services like water and electricity in Australia's harsh environments is very expensive and difficult. The extreme heat, dry conditions, and large distances make it hard to set up these things. It costs a lot of money to build and maintain them, and in many areas, it's not even practical to do so. This is one of the reasons why people don't live in the more remote parts of the country. In remote parts of Australia, there are mining towns where people work to extract resources like gold, coal, and iron. However, these towns often have small populations because many people only stay for a short time while they work. Once the mining work slows down or ends, people usually leave, so these towns don't have large permanent populations. Australia's geography and climate have created a big difference between its busy coastlines and its empty interior. Along the coast, the weather is milder and there are more people living in cities. But in the middle of the country, the land is dry and harsh, making it almost impossible for people to live there. This contrast is one of the reasons why so much of Australia is empty while the coasts are full of life. As climate change gets worse, we might see more changes in where people in Australia choose to live. The weather is becoming more extreme, with hotter temperatures, less rain, and more storms. This could make some areas even harder to live in, while others may become more suitable. It's possible that more people will move to different places as the climate continues to change. What do you think? Do you think Australia's Outback could ever become a place where people can live? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on more interesting videos about our world.